No, I'm not here to talk about 10 books. I'm actually here to talk about 5, but the numbers are just weird because of the Bromance Book Club video that I just posted last week. But hey, it's Paige. If this is the first time you're seeing my face, I am currently trying to read all of the unread books on my shelf. I started the year with 241 unread books, and I'm currently at 213 unread books, but these ones are some of the ones that I read a couple weeks ago. We're just trying to catch up with the wrap-ups here. If you want more up-to-date information on how I'm doing with my reading, check me out on TikTok because that is where I'm doing my weekly wrap-ups. So we're here to talk about books 16 to 25 because books 17 to 20 were Bromance Book Club books, and I did a whole video about that. So book 16 that I read was Well Read Black Girl. This is a collection of essays from Black authors all about the first time that they felt that they were represented by the books they were reading and how that impacted their own work. I really enjoyed this. It came during a week when I was reading a lot of white authors, so I described it as being like very comforting to pick up. If you were looking for examples and recommendations of books that you can read in various genres, each of these essays from the authors who are writing in different genres like sci-fi, lit fic, all of that, plays, they all come with their own recommendation list. I really enjoyed the essay specifically from N.K. Jemisin. It was more about Black futures. She's like, bestie, we can imagine ourselves in the future despite the fact that white people cannot imagine us there. So now moving on to the other 4 books in no particular order because I truly do not remember what order I read them in. First up here is Catherine House. This one's kind of hard to describe, but it follows a new year of students who are admitted to this really selective, mysterious university where when you enter those gates, you cannot leave for the 3 years you're in your program, and everyone who goes there ends up really successful, ends up in positions of power. And we follow Inez as she navigates these 3 years. This is a vibes book. I was trying to give you a plot. There isn't really a plot. There's a mystery that's unfolding as she's trying to figure out what is happening at this school. You're experiencing things as she experiences them. There are gaps in time. She's not a reliable narrator. There is this mysterious substance that someone who used to go to the university discovered, and it is supposed to be able to fix matter and like change what things are. So that is part of the mystery element, is trying to figure out what that even is, because you can't really get involved with that unless that is the discipline that you've decided to go into. This isn't even a character-driven book. It is literally just vibes. If you enjoy stories that are more about the atmosphere of the characters' surroundings and the setting, that is what this book is, and I think it delivers that really well. It just will not be for everyone, and I know that, but also I love the audiobook. The audiobook was fire. Whoever narrated this did such a good job because each of the characters had such a distinct voice, and the way they do the chant that happens in this book is stuck in my head. I just think it sometimes. It just was perfectly done. 10 out of 10 audio. Would recommend just listening to it instead of reading it. The next book that is on this stack is The Unsinkable Greta James. This one has a plot I can give to you. So we are following like this singer who's famous. Her mom was like her #1 fan, was well known in the community, and then she dies unexpectedly. So this is all about exploring grief in a family setting. She isn't particularly close to her dad, but he was supposed to go on this Alaskan cruise with her mom for their anniversary, and her brother ends up convincing her to go with her dad instead, and she begrudgingly does this. She meets a writer on the ship, and there's like a little romance there, which I didn't particularly enjoy. It felt kind of disjointed from the rest of the story, and they move really fucking quickly. Like by the end of this book, they're all about like they're in love with each other and they've known each other like 2 weeks. The exploration of the family dynamics between Greta and her dad, so good. The end of this book made me cry, and it was very on theme because another one of the books I'm going to be talking about also dealt with like grief and loss, and it was the perfect continuation for those vibes that I was reading that week. It didn't really break the mold in what it was trying to do, but it was just like a solid read. We have a book that I acquired this year, but also one that I read for work, and that is Venko by Cherie Dimaline. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year. When I heard that we were publishing this, I was so excited. This one is another one that's kind of hard to describe. This is a reimagining of the world. One, if witches were real, obviously, because it's about a coven, but if the whole patriarchy was formed on the idea that they were trying to keep the witches from coming into power. So the whole idea is there are circles of witches in each continent, and when all the circles on all the continents are able to fully form, when all 7 witches are found, then women will be able to defeat the patriarchy and come back into power. And the patriarchy was upheld by a group of guys who are witch hunters. There is only one of these witch hunters left. He is centuries old because he also dabbles in magic, and he is Lee Pace coded. Like, if you read this, you will picture Lee Pace immediately, just the description of him. So this book is set in America, where the circle of 7 is only at 5, and we are given the perspective of Lucky St. James, who is witch number 6, except she doesn't know it until she discovers a spoon and is pulled into the adventure and has to find witch number 7. So I really enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a road trip book. All of the characters are so fun. Stella is my favorite side character that I've read in a minute. I feel like everyone's gonna come out of reading this loving Stella. This is a light magic system. You don't really have any rules. And then the final book that I read for this 5, The Two Lives of Lydia Bird. This was an unexpected choice on my part. I had just finished The Last of Us episode 3, which if you are watching that show, you know it's like really fucking sad. And I just came home and I was like, I need to read something to like decompress. And I picked this one up not knowing it was all about grief and loss. This was the perfect read, honestly. It kept me in that same vibe, and it was exactly what I needed to read at that moment. So this follows a woman whose fiance dies on her birthday while he is picking up a friend on the way to a dinner. She, in the process of her grief, receives these pills that are supposed to help her sleep, but end up taking her to an alternate reality where her fiance is still alive and they're still together. And it was exactly as depressing as it sounds, but what I really enjoyed about this one was the way it handled the grief. I was kind of concerned that this was going to fall into the sort of narrative where she ends up just perpetually being in the other world and forgetting about the world that she is in during the waking hours, but it did the opposite, where she found so many things to live for in her waking life that it was more of an exploration of how to let go of the grief and let go of the potential future that you actually don't know how it would have turned out. Some people think this is more like sci-fi-y. It's not. It's like very much like you don't even know if she's actually going to an alternate reality or if it's just something her brain is doing to like help her process things, and I like the ambiguity of that. I was honestly so surprised about how much I enjoyed this one, and I will be picking up the author's other books when I'm done with this challenge. So those are the 5 books that I have read recently. I'm currently doing another sort of reading challenge, but after this one I think I'm done with reading challenges for a minute because those tend to slow down my reading somehow. If you have read any of these books, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments, and I will see you with whatever my next video is.